Well, to warm us up for the conversation today, I want to start with the question of the day, and this is the time to turn to the person seated next to you and discuss this question. And the QOD for today is this: which musician, dead or alive, would you like to watch in a live concert? Yeah, dead or alive. So turn to the person seated next to you. You don't know them, tell them, hey, my name is so-and-so. You look familiar. Can I get your number? Kidding. Discuss this question. Which musician, dead or alive, would you like to watch in a live concert? That's so cool. So I asked different people, and some people said Bob Marley, Tupac Shakur, and Beyonce. Now, I have a set of friends that help me to remember I'm a pastor. So these are the people who said that. And then there's another set that says Sissy Winans, Deborah Lukaku, Lukalu. You see these ones. That's my more saved friends. And then there are my real friends, real Christian friends who said Don Moen. Munishi. There is someone who said Munishi. Now, if you don't know who Munishi is, you don't know why Malebo Alikataku Okoka, you are making our church young. I love you. I love you. And then, of course, there was a crowd favorite. Many people love this person, Michael Jackson. Many musicians, many people will definitely agree that Michael Jackson was one of those. He was known as the king of pop. Pop music is popular music. He was a king of pop in that sense. The man was all sorts. His music, his looks, his dance moves, performances. It says that his fans were not just fans; they were like fanatics. They were all in. His concerts would sell out weeks, if not months in advance, before he even sets foot on the nation or the place that he was supposed to perform. People were fixated on him. In fact, there would be mass hysteria when he moves into a stadium or whatever place that he's performing. People would actually faint when he would show up on stage, and yet those poses thing, he looks on this side, guys faint. And then literally, he turns on this side, guys start fainting on this side. It's true. I actually have a video because I knew you guys would not believe it. Immediately, show them what MJ would do. By the time the drama does this, guys now go crazy. It's crazy. When you look at all this, when you look at how sort of people engage with him, it's not too far-fetched to say that people almost worshipped him. Michael Jackson and his fans demonstrated a powerful truth about humans, which is simply this: all humans are worshippers. It's a thing that distinguishes us from animals. Apes can do many things that humans can do. But no scientist in Nat Geo has ever discovered apes that made an altar where they could worship from, or see a lion catch an antelope and then say, let me pray before, partaking. They never do that. They have no sense of worship, and that's because they don't have spirit. They have the body, they have soul, which is emotion. That's why you can see an elephant going through a grieving process when they lose, one of the elephants or something. They have emotion, that's the soul, but they have no spirit, which is what connects you in God in terms of worship. Human beings are the only people through antiquity, past, present, through time, we have discovered altars and spaces of worship because human beings literally were created to worship. Today, some people may not, go to a building to worship or worship a musician like Michael Jackson, but there's something or someone that we give our devotion, we give our adoration, we give our relevance, we give our reverence rather, we give our time, and we give our resources to. There's something somewhere that we actually get devoted to. For some of us, it's our sports. You desire start your family during specific times. There are families here that know when football starts, I've lost my husband, I've lost my wife, I've lost, you know what is going to happen right after that. And you take your tithe money, you go bet with it because this is more important to you. You believe in your team more than you believe in God, so to speak. It's not perfect to say that for some people it's almost like you could say that they worship sports. For other people it's their cars. You love your car, you take it for detailing. You want the days you are off to just be able to wash it. You've been able to do everything that your car knows you. You know the people for, I know my car, and my car knows me. For real, for real. You could almost say this, that they worship their car. For other people, it's their work. They sort of are dedicated to that to the exclusion of everything. They want to see their business go forward. They want to go up their career ladder. They want to hit the nth level of what it means to pursue their particular career. Other people, especially atheists, worship human intellect. This is the ultimate authority to them. Understanding the human intellect is the ultimate pursuit for them. Many people, it's money. In fact, Jesus says you cannot, serve. You either serve God or money, and it's a literal thing. People who are getting money and keeping money is the ultimate pursuit. Other people, it's their appearance. Other people, it's relationships. Other people, it's knowledge. For many others, especially nowadays, it's Mother Nature. Like you just worship nature. You want to be one with nature. You want to, find your spirit animal because, nature is calling you. And, so, why come to church when I can go running in Karura on Sunday morning and really connect? So basically, left to our own devices, every person will find someone or something to idolize and to give them and to give their complete devotion to. Why? Because every one of us worships something or someone. It's like we can't help it. It's something hardwired in who we are. It's something hardwired in our being. Now, am I saying that it's wrong to, be passionate about a sport? I'm not saying that. Am I saying it's wrong, to enjoy the things that God has given you, like cars or houses or whatever? No. Pursue your career with ambition and passion, it's true. Set financial goals and do everything you can to be able to attain them. I'm not saying those things are wrong. And if you've been in Mavuno for any, for even 2 months, we've been able to say, do what God has called you. Last month was all about, engaging in the spaces that God has called you to engage in, regardless of their vocation. But what I'm trying to say is this, that many times these gifts that God has given to us, sometimes it's very easy for us to make them our primary focus. Sometimes it's very easy for us to take something good that a loving Father has given you and to be able to turn it into a rival, into something that rivals everything else in your life, including the place of God in your life. It's very easy for us to idolize them and to start worshiping them. There's a musician and author called Harold Best, and he said it this way: There's no one in this world who is not at this moment at worship in one way or another. Let him give me the things. Okay. There's no one in this world who is not at this moment at worship in one way or another, consciously or unconsciously, formally or informally, passively or passionately. For you see, the desire to worship was created in us, and not as an add-on, but as an intrinsic part of our very nature. That the desire to worship was created in us. It's not like how you get like an application and then you say add-on. No, it's not like purchase in whatever. No, it's not an add-on. It's hardwired. It's part of the firmware. It's part of what goes into the software, so to speak. It's hardwired in us to worship. We were created for worship. And throughout the Bible, we encounter a God who invites us to worship. In fact, God does not just invite us to worship. God demands worship. Exodus chapter 20, verse 2 and 4, the Bible tells us this, that I am the Lord your God. This is God speaking to the children of Israel. I am the Lord your God who rescued you from the land of Egypt, the place of slavery. Look at verse 3. You must not have any other God but me. You must not make yourself an idol of any kind or an image of anything in the heavens or in the earth, in the sea. You must not bow down to them or worship them. For I am the Lord your God. I am a jealous God. Why? Who will not tolerate your affection for any other gods. And so God does not just create us to worship, but He demands that we worship Him. He demands that He becomes the object of our worship. And God is literally deadly serious about us worshiping Him, that He actually died on the cross. That's how deadly serious He is. So that you have no option, you have no excuse to say, I couldn't worship you. He's deadly serious about that. Now, why? Why would the creator of the universe demand that you worship Him? Is it that God is going through a crisis, a midlife crisis? Based on the age of the earth, He's going through a midlife crisis and He demands people to tell Him how awesome He is? Is it that God is going through an esteem issue? And so He said, guys, please tell me how awesome I am, because if you don't do it on a weekly basis, in fact, daily basis at 4:30 a.m. with your video on and mic and internet, Is it that God is going through that? Why does He require us, make us daily remember to worship Him and to honor Him? That you worship Him consistently. Why does God demand that? I'm glad you asked. If that's a question in your mind, I'm glad you asked. Through this month of September, we're going to be going through a sermon series that you're calling Wired for This. How worship can change your reality. And through this series, we'll be exploring what worship is, why it's central to our lives as humans, and why understanding it can transform our lives. Now, there are many ways that we worship God, whether it's through prayer, or whether it's through a lifestyle of obedience, or following His instructions. But through this month, we're going to be focusing on worship through music and songs. And I'm glad today we had an extended time of music and song, just, being able to soak in a bit more in the area of prayer. We'll be learning from the Bible character David, who was a prolific songwriter, singer, musician, instrumentalist, composed numerous songs of worship towards God. Now, the life of David is one of those lives in Scripture. Sometimes some people, we don't know their background. Like Elijah, he just appears and you see here, Elijah the Tishbite from Tishbe. Like, we don't even have today we've never excavated and said this is Tishbe. Yeah. So we don't have there's some people we don't have their life. But David is one of those few people in Scripture who we see their life from age about 14 to 15 till he dies at age 70. Like, it's a huge lifespan, and not in one book, it's in multiple books of the Bible where we see the life of David well documented. We first encounter him as a teenager, tending his father's flocks, and his brothers are serving in King Saul's army, and then a bit later, we see him facing Goliath, one of his well-known stories, who he miraculously defeats. And then after that, the King Saul, is jealous, and insecure, and so he wants to do away with David. Then, between the age of 17 all the way to 30, David is living a highly stressed life. He's running as a fugitive in his own nation, in his own nation for doing the right thing. And he's living in caves, he's living away from his family and his friends. This little shepherd boy has all of a sudden become the king's most wanted criminal. He wants to overthrow him. Sometimes even the king leaves the nation unsecure so that he can pursue David. And sometimes he's pursuing David and he has to be told, oh, the Philistines are attacking you, that's why he goes back. He actually leaves the nations defenseless so that he can achieve his purpose of killing this young boy. And then when David is running, he's hiding in caves, man. The Bible tells us in 1 Samuel chapter 22, verse 1 and 2, that towards the end, that losers, vagrants, and misfits of all sorts gather to him. There's a version that says people who are in debt, distressed, and another D word, I forget it, in distressed, in debt, and something else. They follow him in the deserts just so that they can, and that's the people he starts with in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 22. And these guys are loyal to him, but then sometimes they want to kill him because they go through pain. And David ends up becoming a king, and these people became his army. They became David's mighty men, and he leads them in battle. By the time he becomes the king, by age 30, there's peace. He's getting peace all across the borders because he had learned, he had been, battle hardened, so to speak. But his life was full of drama. I mean, at some point, he seduces and impregnates one of his elite soldiers' wives. Then he covers it up by killing that guy. In fact, he writes a letter, gives to the guy. The guy carries his own execution letter. That's how bad the situation was. And then, just to show how great he is, at some point, he counts the nation of Israel. He does a census to know how many fighting men they had. That was something that they weren't supposed to do as kings back in the day. And then as a result, 70,000 people died because of this mistake. At some point, his son Absalom, with the good hair, comes and wants to kill his dad. So his dad now has to run from his son. Then his sons takes his father's concubines and literally parades them on the rooftop of the palace, and basically has Isaiah child there, does that thing with them that you're not supposed to do, bad stuff with them at the roof of the house. By the time David is dying at 70, it's hard. You can see a man who's gone through it all, good times and bad times. David's life had ups and downs more than a Nigerian movie. Yeah. Or more than Undercover. How many have seen Undercover? It has more twists and turns than Undercover. If you've not watched it, just promote local content. Anyway, but what fascinates me about the life of David is this: whether he was winning or losing, whether he was aware of his sin or not, there's something that was constant about his life, and it's simply this: David always worshipped God. Somehow, regardless of, David always worshipped God. When his career and life were threatened, when men set him up, people set him up and they wanted to end him. He doesn't call his strategy team and say, "What do we do?" He doesn't, cope with an addictive behavior. The Bible tells us this in Psalms 59. Psalms 59. It says, this is one of the songs he writes during that time when men are sent to kill him. He says, "Deliver me from my enemies, oh my God. Save me from bloodthirsty men." I jump to verse 9. "I will wait for you, for God is my defense." Verse 17. "To you I will sing praises, my God of mercy." Later on, his career took up an upswing, and his position as king is restored. Man, he's king, he's secure. And at that point, when he's going through an amazing time, he doesn't call guys for a drink and say, "Let's celebrate men, let's sell Moyo Pole." He doesn't go to social media and say, "See God, always winning." He doesn't say, "Soul, happen you happy." He doesn't do that. He writes another worship song. Psalms 18, the Bible says, the Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. This is a good time. He reached down from on high and took hold of me. He rescued me from my powerful enemy. Therefore, I'll praise you, Lord. Among the nations, I will sing praises of your name. Come on, somebody. This is good. When his secret about with Bathsheba was exposed and the sins of adultery and assassinations were uncovered, he doesn't cover that. He doesn't, cover that with excuses. He doesn't, look for people to hide that story, like kill this story. He writes a song in confession. Psalms 51 was actually the song he wrote. "Have mercy on me, O God, because of your unfailing love. Purify me from my sin, for I recognize my rebellion. It haunts me day and night." And then he says, "It's against you and only you alone have I sinned. I have done what is evil in your sight." And then he jumps all the way to verse 10 and says, "Create in me." This is the context within which this song was written. When he had sinned, when he had messed up, "Create in me a clean heart, O God. Renew a loyal spirit within me. Do not cast me from your presence or take your spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation and grant me a willing spirit to sustain me." The thing that David was afraid of during this time where he had walked away, Riga was telling me, was not even the kingdom. He was not saying, "God, don't take the kingdom from me." The thing that he was afraid was, "Lord, don't take your spirit from me." There's something here that stood out about worship, and we can see it being journaled in his songs, regardless of the seasons. When his son Absalom with the good hair tried to murder him, He didn't allow himself to fall into depression. But he wrote another song, Psalms 32. And the Bible says, you are my hiding place. He's running away from the palace. He can't even go to his strongholds. He's running away to the deserts. But he says, you are my hiding place. You will protect me from trouble and surround me with songs of deliverance. Psalms 56 verse 3 and 4 says, when I am afraid, I will put my trust in you. In God, whose word I praise. You know, David shows us that he worships God regardless of the seasons. Because for some of us, the reality is that we are found in church and in worship night when we are going through a tough season. But when you go through a turn and you go through a good season, then you are not seen in church. And for some of us, when you're going through a good season, you're seen in church. But when you go through a tough season, you feel God has let you down and you don't show up in church. But David threw it all, and there are some psalms he just writes because, God, I love you. There is no occasion. I'm just saying, I love you. And he writes psalms and he writes songs just to worship God. Why would David do this? Why? This man who God says, man after my own heart. Why did he go to these great lengths, whether through good times or tough times? Why would he do this? I believe that David had discovered something that we all need to, and it's simply this. I believe that he learned a lesson that what you choose to magnify will eventually take control of you. Oh, come on, elbow your neighbor and tell them, what you choose to magnify will eventually take control of you. Now, the word magnify means to enlarge, to amplify, and to increase. When you take a magnifying glass, guys, you don't change the size of the specimen, but the specimen becomes large in your sight. So when you say, I'm magnifying the Lord, you know some people think, oh, our God is small, so let's magnify him. You ain't changing the size of the specimen, but the specimen becomes big in your sight. It takes your time, it takes your senses, it takes everything, your attention and devotion, so to speak. Likewise, the person or the thing that you magnify becomes big in your eyes. If you choose to magnify financial progression, for example, everything else will start taking a backseat. Your marriage and family, everything else takes a backseat. You know, you could say, I'm doing it for the farm, but the reality, even the farm says, no, you are not doing it for us. You are doing it for yourselves. And some point, morals and ethics becomes minimized because you are pursuing these things. Serving in church, attending church becomes minimized because you are pursuing these things. What you choose to magnify will eventually control you. Mavuno Downtown, what is the thing that you're magnifying today on that altar of your life? What have you magnified? Is it beauty and fitness? Is it a job, career, a business? No, think about it for yourself. Money and the pursuit of it, knowledge, sports, entertainment, relationships, marriages, these things, what have you magnified? And sometimes you don't magnify things, sometimes you magnify attitudes. You magnify happiness and the pursuit of it. Good vibes and inshallah, that's what you're living for. Perception and how people see you. Sometimes you magnify your pain, your bitterness, your offense, and it becomes how you perceive the life through. That becomes your lens, because that's what's magnified in your life. You know, in my own life, I genuinely love pastoring. Like I know I can do many things in life. I'm glad I'm a pastor. Like genuinely, I you know, sometimes, oh, you're a pastor. Well, I'm sorry for you, you are not a pastor. Like for me, I love it. I love it. I love it. Like genuinely, I love that I'm a pastor. I enjoy pastoring. I enjoy it. And at some point, I enjoyed it. I remember God asking me when we were doing the series on surrender, when God asked me, if I choose to remove pastoring from you, will you still love me? I was like, God, are you doing jokes? Not like this. Like, I genuinely struggle to say, because, you know, the thing is, it's baptized in God's work. Am I making sense? But God was asking have you started idolizing the gift that I've given you to the point that it would overcome if I said I want it? You'd struggle with that. Are you there? It could be good things. I'm not saying that you idolize bad things. You idolize good things. That's why you're in first service. Second service guys, you can argue. But first service guys, hey, you idolize good things. Yeah. Don't tell that to second service guys. Don't, please. Yeah, don't do that. It was like I'm drunky jokes. But guys, these things are not stories. I've seen people walk away from their faith because God didn't give them a promotion. Pastor Faith, true or not true? I've seen people leave faith church because you don't have a spouse. And when now you've gone to the bar, you think you'll get a barcoded man. You think you... What you choose to magnify will eventually take control of you. Now, elbow your neighbor and tell them, don't miss this next statement. He's about to say something. I'm still trying to answer, why would God demand that you worship him? You see, the invitation to worship God is because God knows that you will worship something. And he could have kept quiet and let you wallow to looking for it, knowing that you won't find it. And as an act of kindness and mercy and just pure grace on you, because you never deserved it, he tells you, worship me. Because the things that you worship will let you down, but I won't. And he could have let you worship other things and they disappoint you and you're looking for it and you're looking for it. But out of his mercies over your life, he says, I am the object of your worship. It is God's love for you that he tells you what to worship. He tells you where to focus your worship. He tells you where to focus your attention and devotion. He tells you what to magnify. He could have left you, but he knows those things will let you down. And so he invites you and says, worship me. Jeremiah chapter 2 verse 13 says this, for my people have done two evil things. They have abandoned me, the foundation of living waters. They have dug for themselves cracked cisterns that hold no water. To make cracking. Cracked cisterns. The thing that you are trying to put water in, or the water of worship, it's cracked. It holds no water. And God's invitation for you is to free you from a lifestyle of heartbreaks and being let down by telling you there is an object of worship that you can worship that can be faithful through all seasons, that can be faithful through all generations, that though you walk through the valley of the shadow of the death, you shall fear no evil, for my rod and staff, even there shall comfort you. There is a God who is faithful through all generations. There is a well that satisfies. There is a well that satisfies.